game the glory it truly deserves, minus the dubbing. So, we're arriving at Kilika.
I am the summoner Yuna. I have come from the temple in Besaid.
Oh, milady summoner!
If there is no other summoner here, please allow me to perform the sending.
Thanks, BTA.
Our loved ones. We feared they would become fiends.
Please, take me to them.
So I would explain this, but Lulu will do that in a minute.
We'll go see what we can do to help in town.
Huh?
So in the original game, the more time that Titus spends with Waka, the more time that he accidentally calls Titus Chapu. We won't be able to return to Besaid unless this boat's fixed. And that is when you get kind of a small idea of how Waka is not thinking straight. The first sign of this was how he disobeyed the ritual of the summoner only allowing guardians in the temple. He also was part of the reason why Yuna wanted to talk to Titus, because why Yuna wanted to make Titus a guardian, rather, let me say that. She encouraged him to do so. And so this is another person. I find this scene hilarious too, because listen to what she says. Hey, you're alive. Wait, what do you want? We're not open. It almost seems like Titus is not actually a real person, but just takes on the form of people who are recently dead or killed. You see her reaction. What she said was, hey, you're alive, as if he looks exactly to her like someone she knows. But then upon looking at him closer, she realized it's not him. Doesn't that sound like what Waka did? So that's why I was saying, what if Titus is not real, but merely, you know, it makes much more sense towards the end of the game when you realize that Titus disappears because Sin disappears and he's a dream. So if he's a dream, then what if he is the manifestation of Waka's dream? I had thought about that. Like, what if Waka was, with his belief and faith, somehow summoned Titus to this? And Jet and all that other stuff is just a further of Yuna's wishes too. So a lot of the story got cut out of the dub version. The dub game, the US game. The pub's closed. I don't think I can get through this without a drink. Tedious, watch your step. It's not safe this way. So, when you think about it like that, the story has much more meaning to it. When you think about it like that, that Tedious, or Titus is just a reflection. Remember how I said his chain looks similar to Yuna? He will reflect what's in the hearts of those closest to him. But he never really existed. That's why he
what's
looks like
ascending?
something.
Are we going somewhere?
Now pause. You might say, why is it that Riku found him first, right? So why does he look like this? Because even though Riku found him first, where did Titus first appear? Near Sin. So then it makes more sense when you understand that he was not in the right place at the right time. So what did Sin do? He moved Titus closer to who summoned him. And that was who? Waka. Waka was the first to find him. Riku kind of just stumbled upon them by accident, you know? And if Sin did not interject, see there, interfere between the meeting of Riku and Titus, then Titus would have went with Riku. Now, what's the first thing you saw inside that hut when Titus was dreaming? You saw Yuna and you saw Riku, because Riku was the one who was going to veer everything off course. And Yuna would have never met Titus. She would have got on the boat and everything would have been different. She would have never had the mentality to try and defy Yu Yevon and would have just sacrificed herself like all the other summoners. So it's all a part of it. It's not a coincidence that Titus looks like Chapu, because he is Chapu. He is a dream of Waka's to have his brother back. Now, did he exist thousands of years ago? No, because the Anakin has been gone. This is why Waka believes, and you'll hear Lulu tell him further in the game, that he's not, Chapu, and Chapu's dead. And she constantly reminds Waka of that because his mind is gone. He literally believes that Titus is Chapu. And the sad thing is, he is. Titus's life is a collection of everybody's memories from 1,000 years ago. And that is going to make even more sense when you realize that, well, I'm not going to spoil it all for you, so I'll leave it at that. But watch this scene with Lulu and Titus carefully.
You truly are clueless. Are you sure it's just your memory that's the problem?
She said, are you sure it's just your memory that's the problem? Insinuating that Titus is only pretending to be a moron and that he knows more than he lets on. Also, just listen.
The dead need guidance.
The dead need guidance. Who's dead? Keep in mind, what happens to Titus at the end of this game? He disappears. He's not alive. He doesn't exist. The dead need guidance. She knows too, just like she keeps trying to tell Waka, that this is not Chapu, but a mere reflection of him. Now, what happens on the far plane when you go pray? Exactly. When you go to the far plane and pray, you can see images of your loved ones, right? So, basically, since Titus is not alive, she's saying that he's like some type of entity from the far plane in the flesh, sort of like a sin spawn, but not yet a monster. And you'll hear the reason why she's the most mature out the group. So while everybody else is cool with it, Lulu's like, if given the chance, I'll destroy you. Like you're a fiend. In Lulu's eyes, Titus is no different than a fiend. So you'll see. The dead need guidance. She values him as a dead
Filled
man
with grief
needing
over
guidance.
their own death, they refuse to face their fate. They yearn to live on and resent those still alive. You see, they envy the living. And in time, that envy turns to anger, even hate. Should these souls remain in Spira, they become fiends that prey on the living.
And then she looks dead at him with the coldest eyes you could ever see. And is basically what she said is, should you become a fiend, I'll kill you, is what Lulu said. Not sad, isn't it?
Isn't it?
She didn't say sad, isn't it? She said, should you become a fiend, I'll kill you. And keep in mind, Titus has memory issues for real. So the whole idea that sin makes you forget everything is not entirely true. It's all a lie, because Titus's memory issues is not related to him breathing in the toxin. Think about it. Waka, Lulu, Yuna, Kamari, and a whole bunch of other peoples were just right next to Sin. Did any of them complain about having memory loss? So the dub just ineffectively, the US version just ineffectively translated. What she told Titus was, should you become a fiend, I'll kill you. Now, why would she tell him that? Because she knows, just like everybody else knows, that Titus is not suffering from toxin, but he's a sin spawn. What happens to the sin spawn when Sin dies? They're all going to die. So basically, everybody gave him a chance, especially Yuna, because everybody was just like, he's a fiend, kill him, you know? But Waka didn't want to because he looks like who? Chapu. And Lulu thinks that the fiend took on the image of Chapu because he knew that Waka would show him sympathy. So, yeah. Because he looks like his dead brother, and he knew Waka wouldn't want to kill his dead brother. And he thought the same about Lulu. Like, you love me because I look like your fiance, right? But Lulu actually said that if you become a fiend, I'll kill you. Letting Titus know that you're not like the others. I can't trick you because Sin does play with people's minds. Didn't they tell you that? That Sin spawn can cause memory loss and forgetfulness. So he's a deceptive creature. So Titus was never their ally, but more like they invited him to stay next to them so he couldn't cause chaos anywhere else. So basically they were like, I'm going to keep an eye on you because you're a sin spawn. And what do sin spawn do? They envy the living because they want to stay alive. And when their envy turns to anger, what do? They kill. And so they're like, if you turn into a fiend, I will kill you, is what Lulu said.
Ascending takes them to the far plane, where they may rest in peace.
Summoners do this?
So one other thing that I want to interject with was when Orin comes back into the picture. Keep in mind that Orin is also an unsent. There are lots of unsent walking in the world. Now, what's an unsent? Maester Micah is an unsent. An unsent is a person who has died but refuses to go to the next world. They are not sent by a summoner. Keep in mind, she just told you, a summoner sends the dead, the dearly departed, those who have just died, to the far plane where they may rest. So, Lulu and everybody else knows about unsent people, especially the temple too. They know about unsent people. Now, Titus is an unsent, and Lulu knows about unsent because she used to be a former summoner to another guardian who died. She knows about the unsent. When she goes into that cave, she saw her former summoner who she couldn't protect still living. So she knows about the unsent and how they become fiends if they are not sent by a summoner. So then she knows that Titus, again, is dead and has not been sent by a summoner. But because she's showing him mercy, perhaps because he looks like Chapu, she said, if you become a fiend, I'll kill you. So I just really hate how the English game took all of that awesome story out of it and made it more likable towards children, because it was a really beautiful story. Now you can ask yourself, why wouldn't Titus be sent right here? Because this is for the recently dead. Titus is already an unsent. So the only way Yuna would send him is if she's thinking about sending him. And she's not going to do that because she too knows that he's dead. After all, he told them, I'm from Xenarkin. Xenarkin was from 1,000 years ago. You see the envy in his eyes because he knows too, like, I should probably go home. That's all I really want. Where is his home? It's gone. So basically, Yuna told Kimari to attack Titus to see what would happen if he was attacked. Would he become violent? And he didn't. He defended himself, but he didn't become violent. Once Kamari stopped, Titus stopped. So that's how they knew, like, he's not violent, he's not dangerous. And they decided to keep an eye on him. And then little of fighting, she said that on purpose to see what Titus would react to. Because remember, he's an unsent. Unsent turn into fiends. Fiends are those monsters that we are always fighting on the field. So it's a beautiful story. I really appreciate it. I really wish that they would remake this game.
It must be tough
with the original story.
Being a summoner.
Yuna chose her own path. She knew from the beginning what it meant. All we can do is protect her along the way until the end.
So it's a beautiful story.
End?
A beautiful story. I'm gonna not pause it right here because Lulu. Fan service.
What's the end?
Anyways, I don't need fan service, but it's a beautiful story of the boy who's already dead but wants to live and go home versus the girl who is alive and must die to save the world. So that's just so beautiful. Like the girl who's had a peaceful life and it has to end so that she could save the world versus the boy who came from a drunken, abusive father, a suicidal mother that just wants to live. He never got to live. He just wants to live. Titus just wants to live. And Yuna has always had a peaceful life, but is destined to die. Titus never got to live. He was always also destined to die. So they're like two halves of the same coin. And I find that so beautiful. Like she is the girl who is alive but destined to die. And he's the boy who's dead but wants to live, but is still gonna have to accept his fate and die. And the ironic thing is at the end, the one who was destined to die, Yuna, to be the sacrifice, lives and lives on. And the one who was already dead and never got to live has to die. So that's just so beautiful to me. Because all he ever wanted was to live. And he can't. And all she was meant to do was to die. But he decided, he could have just said like, frick you humans, like I'm not about to die for y'all. But in the end, Yuna survived, even though she was destined to die, to be a sacrifice because of Titus, who yet again gave up everything for somebody else. It's a really beautiful story.
End.
Until she defeats sin.
Oh.
So remember, another thing that I found them clever with is that, think about this, Jet is sin, right? And Titus is Jet's son. Remember what they said about the sin spawn? This is how they slowly started to piece it together, that Titus really is a fiend in human flesh, and that had never happened before. Jet is sin, remember? Oren is going to tell you that. Sin is the embodiment of all evil, and Jet is sin. Jet is Titus's father. Sin spawn are Sin's children. Jet is sin. Sin is Jet. Remember? I found that funny because Oren said it just like that. Titus is a sin spawn because he's Jet's son, which means he's effectively Sin's son. He's a sin spawn. See? The sin spawn draws sin to them because he wants to get them back. Which means it might have not even been that fiend that the Crusaders had that caused all this death, but Titus, because Jet is trying to get Titus back. because Sin wants his sin spawn. The Crusaders are gonna explain it better. They're gonna say Sin is drawn to his sin spawn, his children. And if Titus is one of his children, then every time Sin pops up is because of Yuna's refusal to let Titus go, because she fell in love with him and is fascinated by him because he's the opposite of her. Keep that in mind. The girl who was destined to die versus the boy who just wants to live. Lulu also knows the truth, but is refusing to kill Titus because he looks like Chapu, and that's her fiance. She too reluctantly wants him to stay around. And then you have also Waka, who knows who Titus is, a sin spawn, the child that is bringing all this death. And yet, because he looks like his brother, and keep in mind, Titus took this form on purpose because he knew Sin messes with people's minds, that they would all take sympathy on him because of the way he looks. And so, Waka 2 is saying, I'm not going to kill you because you look like Chapu. And so, basically, when you think about it like that, the only one who was like, I'm about to kill this sin spawn before... Who was it? You guessed it, Kimari was the only one who was like, I'm going to kill you, Titus, because you are a sin spawn and you're bringing death everywhere. And so he was like, I'm about to kill you. I'm just about to kill you. And what did Waka tell him to? Stop. And then he wasn't going to listen to Waka, but then what did Yuna say? That's enough. And you know that Kimari is fiercely loyal to Yuna, who he's been raising since she was little. So when you think about it like that, it's a really beautiful story of everybody sacrificing all these innocent lives for their own selfish desires.
I hope I did okay.
But Yuna is also like, I don't care, like, you all are going to kill me to live. Like, the summoner must die in order to save the world. Remember, she's the sacrifice. So she's like, oh, so y'all will kill me, but when I want to be happy, because Titus spent the night with her. She fell in love. She had never been with another person close to her. That was also Sin's tricks. You know, he plays with the mind, is what he does. So because of that, she was really attached to him. So if he gets the summoner, the only person who could kill him, and what's going to happen? He's effectively trying to save his own life.
You did very well. They've reached the far plane by now.
Titus is really evil, isn't he?
I wished there would never be a next time. No more people being killed by Sin. No more sendings for Yuna. Everyone stood there watching her. It was strange. And somehow, horrifying.
What Titus
I never wanted to see it again.
Was that he didn't really care about all this death and crying. What he actually said there was, I don't care about all this death and crying. I just want to go home. But again, since they remade it in the English game, they changed it to say he never wanted to see it again. By them changing it for it to be more for children, they really took out the power that the story had. I'm gonna be a blitzball when I grow up. Did you rest well? The others left some time ago. This is my home, and no matter how bad it gets, I ain't moving. Okay, so I'm sorry to spend so much time explaining stuff, but I just wanted people to have a better appreciation for the beauty that is this game. The English game ain't got nothing on the original. It's way better.
Hey, you awake? Captain Walker's waiting for you.
Everything is in shambles. I don't know where to start. I wanted to believe it was just a bad dream. That this was all a dream. When I opened my eyes, everything would be back to normal. But when morning came, nothing had changed. Now keep in mind, Sin plays with people's minds, and that's the exact same thing Titus said when he first woke up. Yeah, I'm repairing this now, but it'll all be destroyed when Sin comes again. He destroys it, I fix it. I fix it and he destroys it. It's never ending cycle, I tell you. Hey, Waka's waiting for you. Please excuse him, he's been affected by the toxin, so if he says anything offensive, don't take it serious. Please excuse this. So basically, this is what the toxin does to you. What are you looking at? I ain't on display or go away, man. It doesn't erase memories. It just rearranges them.
Huh? Whoa!
So basically, Titus can affect your memories and play with your mind. Therefore, well, you get it at this point. The internal monologues are meant to show you who Titus really is versus who everybody thinks he is. Waka, where are you at? Our loved ones made it to the fire flame with Lady Yuna's help. Truly grateful for Yemen. You're the one who saved my sister, right? That treasure box contains a token of appreciation. Accept it, please. I don't care if there isn't any food. I just want to stay here. Scared to even look at the sea. Another Albed Prima.
Ah, there you are. Be said, Aurochs, huddle. On to the temple, where we pray for victory. Go! High Summoner O'Halloran used to live in the Kilika temple here. Yep. Lord O'Halloran was once a great blitzer, you know.
Waka. Praying for victories, oh, good. But is this right?
Something
And here you'll see him discouraging people from trusting Yevon, which is not entirely wrong since they lied too.
wrong with enjoying blitzball?
Is this really the time?
This is the only time. The players fight with all their strength. The fans cheer for their favorite team. They forget pain, suffering. Only the game matters. That's why Blitz has been around for so long. At least that's what I think.
Keep in mind that Titus is not really a blitzball player. He is the manifestation. And since he looks like Chapu and loves blitzball, is that a coincidence? Who loves blitzball? Waka.
Whatever you say.
Let's play and win, right?
Right.
Temple's beyond the jungle there. Let's go.
Alright, so this story is so beautiful. We have now, hold on. I'm gonna let this video run a little long because there hasn't been an actual gameplay. I'm saving right here, so give it a second. Kilika Temple and Sin Spawn.
What's up?
Yuna's saying she wants you with us.
Huh?
I want to ask you to be my guardian.
You know what? There's no time for jokes, yeah? He may be a blitzball whiz kid, but up against fiends, he's a newbie.
Not a guardian, then. I just want him nearby.
What?
What she said in the original dub is inappropriate, but you can tell by Waka's reaction.
What? What do you mean?
It's just that... Well,
We're all going to the temple anyway. Can't this wait till later?
What she said was, I don't have time for the angst of two teenage brats. We have work to do.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have...
There's nothing to be sorry about. I'm just not really sure what's going on.
So Titus shakes his head and says, don't say anything. And Eunice says, I shouldn't have.
My apologies.
Because keep in mind, he's a sin spawn, and the only thing he wants is to destroy her. Because she's going to destroy him. Ironically, he ends up falling in love with her. That's so ironic. Also, Kimari let him know once again that if you hurt Yuna, I'll kill you.
Kimari, why don't you use Lancet on it?
What's a lancet?
Normally, it's a skill that weakens enemies and heals the user. But when a Ronso uses it, that Ronso can sometimes learn Fiend's abilities.
Hey, sounds cool.
Alright. Teaching you how to use Kimari. Seed Cannon. Overdrive. Ronso Rage. Seed Cannon. And Titus to finish it off. There we go. Makes you look at him differently when you know what he really is. Look at that Oshu. Alright, so here's where we're going to level up, because we about to take that thing on. I'm going to save first. I'll show you the spear grid for the first time in my playthrough. Titus is going to go here. And he's going to use an ability spear for cheer. Power spear. Defense increases. Power spear. Strength increases. And we're moving here. Ability spear flee. Very useful just in case. And that's it. Accuracy increase. Tamari just got here. Now I want to take him back so he can get this health spear and a few other good things. Or Lulu, my bad. Her face is so evil looking. That was intentional by the developers though. So a Mana Spear for more magic power. Don't really have much with her. What about Yuna? You get some new abilities straight out the way. Just 2. 1. We get no shock. Nullifies shock or thunder, and blaze, which nullifies fire. Oh, I forgot to do Waka. You should have more, because you've been in the game with me since the beginning. Put him here. Put him here. Power Spear. Mana Spear. So the dark attack is useful. Speed Spear. Okay. That's that. And I'm gonna say, let me see equipment real quick. Strength plus 5, I have better for Ice Strike. I doubt that'll be useful. Dark Ward, Water Ward, nah. I'm gonna put Water Ward on because I think he attacks with water. Hunter Spear, Sensor and Piercing. Nothing in the armor. Nothing for you either. Nothing better than that or that. Alright. Let's save and heal all the way up. Let's go fight the Ochu. Since this is just battling, I cut this off and I'll come back.